in government. He's greater than, he's greater than, he's greater than. He needs us to believe. I heard a story one time, and I love this story. And this pastor wanted, his little girl wanted a dog. He said, no dog, with certain kind of dog she wanted. He said, no. She kept begging, and he said, no. And finally she come back and said, Daddy, Mom said God can even change the heart of a king. So he goes to hold a meeting in another state. And he was at this pastor's house. He'd gone there for dinner. He's preaching. And so the pastor said, oh, come out to the barn. I got something I want to show you. So he gets out to the barn, and guess what? There's a bunch of puppies, just like and this pastor says, God told me to give you one. Well, here it is. So guess what he went home with? God changed the heart of a king. God can change anybody's heart. But I love that story because God does care about a little girl and her dog enough to change the daddy's heart and cause somebody didn't even know the story to give her a little dog just like she wanted. That's our God. He cares that much. Okay. In Matthew 11, 23 and 24, Mark 11, 23 and 24. And believe you me, we could all write stories about things God has given us that sometimes our heart just wanted, we didn't even voice it, but He knew our heart and knew we wanted it and provided it for us. Sometimes, and I shared the other day, sometimes when I first began the church, there wasn't money to buy, so I knew there wasn't any reason to voice it. But God knew, and somebody brought the same thing to my door, that same coat. Remember the Toy Story about the coat? Mark 11, Jesus says, truly I say to you, whosoever. Now, does that mean everybody or a few people? Whosoever. We used to sing a song. I get all these old songs, whosoever surely meaneth me. You ever heard that song? Whosoever surely meaneth me, surely meaneth me, surely meaneth me. Whosoever surely meaneth me. You know, we used to sing that when I was a kid. Say, whosoever. Now that means, and when you hear those things, if you write in your Bible, and I do, I say, that means me. Or when it says they, I say me. You put your name in there. Think your person, make it personal. Truly I say, whosoever shall say to this mountain, be taken up and cast into the sea. And the only requirement of that happening, and he does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says is going to happen, it will be granted and it will happen. In verse 24, listen to what he just backs it up more. Therefore I say to you, all things, again, that's the reason I said he puts no limits. All things for which you pray and ask, all you need to do is believe you receive them, and you have them. I mean, no wonder the scripture says it's a simple, even little child to believe. I mean, but we complicate it. We get it, grown-ups, we complicate it. We've got to figure out how to require it or deserve it or Mark 10. No, let's go to Mark 9. Mark 10:27. No, let's go back to Mark 10:27. Now I want to know, is this true or false? Looking to them, Jesus said, with people it is impossible, but with God all things are possible. Is that true? True. Nothing too big for our God. You ever hear that song? There's nothing too big for our God. Okay, now that's true. Now you got that right. All things are possible. Okay, go back to 9:23. Mark 9:23. Now Jesus said this to us. If you can believe, Because what he's saying is, all things are possible with God. And God is saying, if you can believe me for all things are possible, then you experience all things are possible. I started praying a week or so ago. And I'm going to get back to something. I've got to tell you something. When I was praying for my family, I just trust God to just move in there. I said, God, all things are possible with you. And I'm going to believe the impossible in my faith. Do the impossible. I mean, I'm believing him for big things. And God's going to use them majorly. I know some of them's got a call on their life, and some of them don't know it yet. I got a grandson in South Korea teaching English this year, and when he's a smart kid, oh my goodness, and he's a sweetheart, and when he would join that society, what is it called? Somebody help me, Honor Society. And he was 17 years old, and so he's walking up there to receive that. And I said, God, you blessed him with such wonderful intelligence and all. God, and I want you to use him. And God says to me, I'm not through with him yet. Don't worry. I got my eye on him and a plan. So he's in Korea. I don't know, but when I told him what I told him, he cried. Because he knows it too. So I don't know, but God, just do the impossible in my family. Just do the impossible. Whatever you need to do the impossible. Whew. Now then, I want us to go a little. I've got to tell you again, I get a verse, and I want to challenge you to do this, pray about it. Every year for years and years and years, I get a Bible verse. I go and pray and say, God, give me a word, a Bible verse for this year. And so he'll give me a verse, and I can know kind of where he's going to take me this year. And it's amazing when I go back 10 years ago and see the verses he gave me. I remember one of them was John 13:3, and Jesus knowing all things that the Father had given him. And I'm saying, oh God, that was my verse, was trying to know all that the Father had given me. A year or two back was on grace. All grace, abundant grace, all grace. And then my verse this year was Mark 11:23, all things are possible, that you will believe me, for all things are possible. And when I heard that verse, I think, God, what do you want me to believe me? What do you want me to believe me for? It's impossible. Help me get there, help me get there, help me get there. But so get a verse, and I could go back. I'm trying to think, can't think, but for years I start off my new year with a verse, knowing that's the direction God's going to teach me. And I went into this year knowing I was going to learn about the impossible, how to trust him for the impossible. Let's just go now then to, let me see. No, I didn't want to wait a minute for that. I want us to go back to Hebrews 11 again now. Oh, I gotta hurry. Yeah. This is called the Heroes of Faith. He said, this is what faith is, we talked about before. And then verse 2 said, by this same faith, men of old had God's approval. Okay. And these people that it talked about was Enoch. Enoch. Woo! Enoch, so what with God, he just left one day. Mm-hmm. And I want you to know, as long as I can remember, can I stop and tell you a story here? As long as I can remember, I've said, God, now Enoch was a man. He was a man. He was a human being. And he actually was on that side of the cross. On this side of the cross, we got the Holy Spirit. But here was a man that could walk that close to you. Man, I need to know what Enoch knew, And God began to show me, and I've shared this with, but I need to tell you one story. I was walking by the lake one week. My husband had been gone about 2 or 3 months, and so Oh, I was caught up between heaven and earth. I just so wanted to go to heaven, knew I couldn't leave because God had told me I wasn't going to finish here. So I'm walking by the lake one day. And I'm walking and I'm praying in the Spirit. And the sidewalk I was walking on is turned to gold. And I'm walking on gold. I tell you, you can believe it or not, I know it's true. I'm walking on the streets of gold. And all of a sudden, I think, my kids won't know what happened to me, and it turned back to cement. And I start praying in the Spirit again, and it turned to gold. I keep walking, and I'm thinking, now here's what I'm thinking. This thing's just going to rise up, and I'm going to walk right into heaven. I was in heavenly places, so I'm walking, and then I got to my car. And I'm standing there, and God said, I'm not finished with you yet, but I'm going to tell you what I did. I called my kids, and I said, if I go missing, don't look for me. I'm walking. And I used to, I'd say, look at my face. If you see on the TV, this lady's missing, no, I learned what Enoch knew, and I'm not there anymore.